beating all its competition. NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
MSMEs are the backbone for the country's economy. They account for 45% of exports.
Frequent changes in GST tariffs and norms has proven to become a very tough issue for the small micro units.
The budget should be in a growth-oriented budget. So we should bring more manufacturers into the fold of GST.
Particularly for micro and small-scale industries, kindly give us a export benefit incentive to us.
But for a micro or small-scale industry to go up, there should be a hand-holding mechanism which is definitely required.
International Airport, where we're showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
The performance सही सारे दी बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections.
Hello friends, welcome back after the break, and today's episode of Tech with TG is all about smart cities, जहाँ पे मैं आपका होस्ट गौरव आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ about the smart cities of our imaginations. मतलब किताबी definition से अलग हटके if we were to talk about the smart cities of future, उनमें क्या-क्या चीजें होने वाली हैं. And because we are all imagining completely wild stuff, I would want you to imagine about your smart city. अगर आप एक smart city डिजाइन करें तो वो कैसा होगा, and let me know all across in comments and going online that how exactly you would want your smart city to be. But basically break से पहले we spoke about 10 fundamental things of these smart cities, 10 distinct features जो इन smart cities में होने चाहिए. But now it's time to talk about the 3 important ones. और मैं बोलूँगा ये जो 3 ऐसे aspects हैं ये बहुत important हो जाते हैं and kind of act like a fundamental building block of a smart city. Let's know more कि ये 3 ऐसी कौन सी चीजें हैं जो हर smart city में होनी ही चाहिए.
Urban planning will need to be forward-thinking to help make smart cities of the future. आज की नहीं, आज से 100 साल से भी आगे की प्लानिंग करनी पड़ेगी. Mixed use zoning, जहां spaces का optimal usage किया जाएगा, and all possible open spaces are used to generate clean and renewable energy. Residential, industrial, and even recreational spaces में एक interlinked harmony बनानी पड़ेगी. इनको आपस में easy accessibility देनी पड़ेगी, which is how the transport network will see less stress. Migrations कम देखने को मिलेंगे. Concentrated and dense नहीं होंगे. Planning को organically man-animal conflicts, environmental integrations को सोच के रखना पड़ेगा. Construction materials used should of course be ready for longevity against acts of God and man's neglect and abuse. Effective governance ही इस सपने को सच कर पाएगी. Smart cities will use the most modernized tools of communications to get every single citizen involved in all major decisions. Policies data driven होंगी और ऐसे platforms पे discuss होंगी जहां transparency एक key factor होगा. ये ट्रांसपेरेंसी अपने साथ अकाउंटेबिलिटी भी लाएगी एंड बिकॉज ऑफ द इन्वॉल्वमेंट ऑफ एवरीवन इन द प्लानिंग स्टेज अवेयरनेस का स्प्रेड काफ़ी इवन एंड ईजी होगा. This will soon start reflecting in better management of disasters, pandemics and other natural calamities. This effectively transitions into the last key factor that smart cities will need to become truly smart, और वो है digital inclusion. एक smart city के लिए digital inclusion एक luxury नहीं, necessity and residents का एक right होगा. It would include fast internet access for all, digital literacy programs जो ना केवल young students को latest edtech innovations के साथ पढ़ाएगा बल्कि all new developments को smartly disperse करेगा to all existing residents. दुनिया के सारे input and output devices का key user aspect होगा accessibility. Digital interfaces would work the same for those visually impaired, for the deaf and for the mute. It is then that our cities would become truly smart.
So friends, that's all from our side. I mean, time is limited, otherwise हम तो और ज़्यादा कुछ imagine कर लेते. But basically it's time for you to run your imagination. और ये जो episode का digital upload होगा, I would want all of you to comment कि आपके पास में ऐसे क्या ideas हैं. Maybe some small ones, maybe some big ones, maybe some crazy ones. कि फ्यूचर की जो सिटीज हैं वो कैसी होने वाली हैं. एंड आई एम श्योर यू आर ऑल लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू लिविंग इन वन ऑफ दीज सिटीज जहां पे वी आर सुपर कनेक्टेड, लाइफ इज फन, लाइफ इज ऑल गुड, एट द सेम टाइम सेफ्टी भी है. आई मीन दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो गाइज, ये था अभी आज का एपिसोड ऑल अबाउट स्मार्ट सिटीज. I'm not sure, maybe next 10 years, maybe 15 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 5 years. One day we'll arrive at a destination जहाँ पे हमारा शहर कुछ ऐसा होगा जैसा हमने आज imagine किया है. What's your take? Do let me know by writing all your emails at tg@ndtv.com. अगला एपिसोड किसी और इंटरेस्टिंग टेक के बारे में, किसी और इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक के बारे में आपसे दोबारा मिलता हूँ नेक्स्ट वीक. अभी इस एपिसोड में इतना ही. हैव अ गुड डे.
Welcome back. Our special report on food inflation. Well, we track the vegetable and the cost of the vegetables from the farms in Punjab to your kitchen. Why are vegetable prices rising? What does the middle class actually expect from the government ahead of the crucial budget? Here's a report.
3 households, different budgets, but one common enemy, a dearer kitchen. With hopes of rate cuts now on the chopping block, an abnormally hot June saw vegetable prices rise to a 16-month high. As prices turn red hot, tomatoes are making 2 meals a day bitter for the pocket. What cost 50 rupees a kg just a month ago, the red gold crop, living up to its name, now costs 120 rupees a kg in many cities. Even in upper middle class households of Delhi, many like Neelu are looking for alternatives to fresh tomatoes.
कई लोग तो रेडीमेड प्यूरी यूज कर लेते हैं कि चलो थोड़ी सी बचत हो जाए, लेकिन वो भी हेल्थ के लिए ठीक नहीं है. उसमें भी केमिकल्स होते हैं. उसको प्रिजर्व करने के लिए वो लोग केमिकल्स डालते हैं. और हमें कुछ करना हो तो हम भी प्यूरी बना के रखते हैं. प्यूरी बना के रखते हैं. यस, टोमेटो क्योंकि इतने कॉस्टली हो रहे हैं, टोमेटो के रेट इतने बढ़ रहे हैं, तो प्यूरी बना के रखनी पड़ती है.
But it's not just the tomatoes. From onions, potatoes to peas and cauliflower, vegetables staple to a regular Indian diet have become a luxury in middle class homes. Prices of these vegetables have more than doubled in just a month. While Neelu may be worried about the rising costs of fresh veggies, for a domestic staff Gyanu, cutting back on essential items is the only way to feed her family of 4.
पहले हम मंडी जाते थे, 500 से 700 रुपए में एक हफ्ता की सब्जी लेके आते थे. अब नहीं, अब 1000 से 1200 रुपए लगती है.
It's not just your neighborhood sabzi wala selling pricier veggies. With wholesale inflation at a 2.5-year high of over 3.5% in June, buying vegetables from mandis isn't a pocket-friendly alternative anymore either. 65-year-old Vandana says the mandi vendors still offer a better deal for seasonal vegetables, essential for her diet.
एक तो सामने दिखती है कि क्या चीज़ ला रहे हैं. I don't know. मैं ऑनलाइन नहीं मंगाती कि वहाँ पर क्या चीज़ आती है. I don't know. और वहाँ सामने लोगों से मैं जाती हूँ तो मैं हर सब्जी वाले से कुछ लेती हूँ. मुझे लगता है कि वो अगर हम ऑनलाइन मंगाएंगे तो बेचारे वो लोग क्या करेंगे, वो गरीब लोग हैं, उनकी कैसे सब्जी बिकेगी या कुछ भी चीज़ होगी.
The soaring prices, however, have not made farmers rich. After toiling on his fields round the year, Jaswant Singh's share in the profits remains meager. He sells 1 kg of bottled gourd that costs 60 to 70 rupees in the wholesale market for less than 20 rupees to the mandi. It's the middlemen who benefit from the inflated prices.
ਮਿਹਨਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ, ਮੰਡੀ 'ਚ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਰੇਟ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜ਼ਿਮੀਂਦਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਬੁਰਾ ਹਾਲ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜ਼ਿਮੀਂਦਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਦਾ 10 20 15 रुपए लेके वो अगे अपना 90-80 रुपये बेचते हैं.
सभी जिम्मेदार हैं जो उनके अंदर से आवाज़ यही है कि कोई ना कोई तो सरकार का इस प्रति होना चाहिए विचार या कोई मतलब ध्यान होना चाहिए.
Farmers say the government should consider a cap on prices of seasonal vegetables to reduce the high margins that benefit the middlemen. The middlemen or arthiyas blame the vegetable vendors for the high prices.
मानकर उसने 15 रुपये किलो हमारे से चीज़ ली, उसको 16.5 रुपये किलो पड़ गई, आगे वो 20-25 रुपये किलो बेचेगा, बीच से खराब भी निकल जाती है, उसकी अपनी मर्जी है.
The sabzi wala says he is helpless too, blaming it on unfavorable weather patterns.
रुपये तो आड़ती भी कमाएगा जी, उसके बीच 5-7 रुपये सानू भी 10 रुपये अगे कमाने पैंदे हैं. हाँ जी, इन्ने बचत करते हैं, मतलब चीज़ पीछे 10-15 रुपये किलो पीछे बचते हैं.
With food prices spiking to all-time high levels, the basket of nutrition has shrunk to a concerning low in the past 1 year. The only healing touch can come from the government. In the upcoming budget, Modi is first after taking charge for the 3rd time.
In the food basket, there are a couple of items where the government has important role to play. For example, cereals. The government increased the MSP, which raises the food price, but at the same time the government buys that and then provide to 80 crore consumers free of cost. So you try to sort of serve both the constituencies, but the real food inflation is not from cereals that much. It is from pulses, it is from oil seeds and the vegetables.
As vegetables become forbidden fruits for people, the middle class with strained kitchen budgets will be watching the finance minister keenly next week. With Gurpreet Singh Cheena in Punjab and camera person Azam Siddiqui, Vedant for NDTV.
To India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world.
Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
MSMEs are the backbone for the country's economy. They account for 45% of exports.
Frequent changes in GST tariffs and norms has proven to become a very tough issue for the small micro units.
The budget should be in a growth-oriented budget. So we should bring more manufacturers into the fold of GST.
Particularly for micro and small-scale industries, kindly give us a export benefit incentive to us.
But for a micro or small scale industry to go up, there should be a hand-holding mechanism which is definitely required.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत ही performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello, Moto.
The government and the opposition brace for a stormy monsoon session. The government calls for an all-party meeting ahead of the budget session. This as the Congress brings up the Deputy Speaker issue in the key meeting. The opposition said to raise the NEET and Manipur issue in Parliament. Rain forces flight cancellations in Mumbai. Air India says flight diversions and cancellations due to rain. This as airlines ask flyers to reach the airport ahead of time. And ahead of the controversial Yatra, Haryana Chief Minister Nayab Singh Saini says that the administration has alerted all officials for a peaceful Yatra. This as security has been ramped up ahead of the controversial Yatra. Internet has been suspended in Haryana's Nu as well. The police is on high alert amid security concerns. A 14-year-old dies in Kerala's Kozhikode after being tested positive for the Nipah virus. The centre issues an advisory after Kerala's teen's death. The outbreak response team has been rushed to Kerala as well. The Bangladesh top court scraps job reservation, the controversial job quota after unrest. Court overturns the 30% reservation for war veterans. 93% jobs are now open for candidates on merit. This after over 110 people had died in Bangladesh amid the protests. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Vedant Agarwal. Our lead story, well, all eyes on the stormy monsoon session, and the focus very much is going to be on the budget. Well, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be presenting the union budget on Tuesday. This is Modi 3.0's first budget. The middle class will be keenly watching the union budget, given the fact that vegetable prices have spiked to a record high. Food inflation remains a big concern. Whether there's going to be tax relief or tax cuts, that remains to be seen. But it's going to be a crucial budget on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the central government called for an all-party meeting ahead of the crucial monsoon session. The opposition brought up various issues, and the states, particularly Bihar and Andhra Pradesh, pressed for a special status and also the special package, which may be brought up during the course of the monsoon session as well. This as Congress leader Jairam Ramesh took a jibe at the TDP as well over the special status. But Kiran Rijiju hit back. He said that everyone must maintain sanctity. Remember, the Congress leader is also now mired in a controversy for live updates and tweeting live or posting on the social media platform X Live during the meeting. The JDU and the BJP have hit out at Congress's Jairam Ramesh. And the all-party meeting was crucial in more ways than one. The opposition brought up various issues. The opposition may raise NEET as well as the Manipur issue in Parliament as well. But the big point of contention remains the Deputy Speaker's post, which was raised by Gaurav Gogoi in the parliamentary meet there as well. Take a look at this report.
The customary all-party meet ahead of the budget session. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh chaired the crucial meet with 44 parties participating. TMC leaders gave it a skip, choosing instead to attend the Martyrs' Day rally in Kolkata. While the government reached out to the opposition to ensure a smooth and productive budget session, the opposition in turn said it would cooperate if the Treasury benches listen to their demands.
राजनाथ सिंह जी ने अपील किया है, जब सीनियर लीडर हो या कोई भी मेंबर जब लोकसभा राज्यसभा में बोलते हैं तो हम उसको व्यवधान ना करें, डिस्टर्बेंस ना करें. इंपॉर्टेंट बिल्स, लेजिस्लेशन कोई भी होगा, हम लोग चर्चा करेंगे.
Are we expecting a smooth session this time?
No, it is depend upon the treasury benches. Whatever stand they are taking.
Demands for special category status were also raised at this meeting. The JDU and LJP and RJD raised the issue for Bihar. The Biju Janata Dal too sought a special package for Odisha.
यहाँ पर हम लोगों ने बिहार को स्पेशल कैटेगरी स्टेटस का डिमांड वी हैव बीन रेजिंग फॉर लॉन्ग. तो हम लोग जरूर अपेक्षा करता है कि बिहार को मिलना चाहिए.
बीजू जनता दल has demanded for special category status for Odisha.
YSRCP too demanded a special category status for Andhra Pradesh. It also questioned TDP for not bringing up the issue at the all-party meet.
Basically, the first foremost demand is a special category status, which was promised by both BJP and the Congress on the floor of the House.
These are all fake allegations, fake numbers that are being put across. We want, our Chief Minister wants discussion in State Assembly, which is going to start from tomorrow. If any of these issues they want to raise, they can raise in the State Assembly. Instead of raising it in the State Assembly, they are running away from the issue.
Uttar Pradesh government's directive to eateries on Kanwar Yatra route also came up. The Samajwadi Party, Aam Aadmi Party and Janata Dal United brought up the issue.
कांवड़ यात्रा के पथ पर नाम लिखने के लिए आदेश दिए हैं. नाम आप जानते हो, नाम से मुसलमान पहचान लिया जाएगा. कोई उनकी दुकान से कोई खरीदेगा नहीं, खरीदेगा भी तो ये भी क्या गारंटी है कि उनका दुकान लुटने से बचेगी.
हमारे पार्टी का मानना है कि धर्म और जात के नाम पर विभेद नहीं करना चाहिए, उससे दूर रहना चाहिए. समाज में वातावरण सहिष्णु रहे.
आपने आदेश जारी कर दिया, नेम प्लेट लगाना होगा, तो मुसलमानों के खिलाफ जो दुर्भावना है वो भी है. इसके साथ साथ दलितों, पिछड़ों, आदिवासियों, इन सब की भी जो दुकानें हैं वहां से भी उनका भी धंधा बंद करने की कोशिश है.
Sources said that political parties from India bloc also sought the Lok Sabha deputy speaker's post, to which no assurance was given by the ruling party.
परंपरागत रूप से सर्वदलीय सभा होती है कि जिससे हम सदन की कार्रवाई और विषय उठा सकें और कार्रवाई शांतिपूर्वक चल सके. पर अब तक का अनुभव तो यही है कि किसी भी हालत में भाजपा यहाँ बात कुछ करती है और सदन के अंदर उल्टा आचरण करती है.
The NEET row is also high on the opposition's agenda. Political parties are all set to corner government on the issue yet again.
The main issue raised regarding the NEET examination. The ADMK party is against the NEET examination for admission to the MBBS courses.
नीट के मामले में सरकार ने अपनी भूमिका स्पष्ट की है, कड़े से कड़ी कार्रवाई हो रही है और बच्चों का भविष्य बिगड़े न, उनका नुकसान न हो, इसके बारे में सरकार पूरी तरह से गंभीर है.
With the opposition parties putting up a strong stand by uniting together and raising various issues at the all-party meeting, the government had stated that they are ready for any sort of discussions but under the prescribed rules. Now it remains to be seen that whether we will see a smooth budget session ahead or a disruptive one. This is Aishwarya Jain with the regional Ashok Mahale for NDTV in Delhi.
So the government's bid to take a conciliatory approach remains to be seen whether it's going to be a stormy monsoon session. But news now from Mumbai, heavy rains across the city, in fact waterlogging and an inundation in parts of Mumbai as well. This is a heavy rain alert has been issued for the city for the next couple of days as well. There you can see those dramatic visuals coming in of people having to wade through knee-deep water, waist-deep water in some parts of the city as well. Not only were rail and road traffic hit, but also flight operations. This as various airlines issued advisories for passengers to reach the airport ahead of time, given the heavy rain alert. It's expected to rain heavily in the coming days. Moving now to news from Haryana. Well ahead of the controversial Braj Mandal Yatra, the state administration and the police are on alert. In fact, security has been ramped up in Nuh and internet services have been suspended as well. Remember, there were violent clashes last time around. In fact, it was last year when those violent clashes broke out because of the Yatra. And now police has made sure that there's heavy security across Nuh and that the Yatra is taken out with absolute security and complete peace. In fact, Haryana Chief Minister Nayab Singh Saini has also appealed to the people. Take a look.
हमने उसके लिए ये अधिकारियों को भी सचेत किया है और मैं सभी लोगों से एक अपील भी करना चाहूँगा. ये धार्मिक कार्यक्रम है, समाज के अंदर हम सब मिलकर के रहते हैं. ये लंबे समय से ब्रजमंडल की यात्रा हमारे जो मानने वाले भगवान श्री कृष्ण को, क्योंकि भगवान श्री कृष्ण की वो धरा रही है और उस ब्रजमंडल के अंदर वो आस्था से जुड़े हुए लोग हैं, तो उनकी यात्रा वो निकलती है. मैं सभी से कहना चाहूँगा, मैं वहाँ के लोगों को भी कहना चाहूँगा कि इस यात्रा में सहयोग करना चाहिए.
करीब 2000 लोगों को इस यात्रा को सफल बनाने के लिए हमने डिप्लॉय किया है, जिसमें CAPF के जो RF कंपोनेंट है, उसके अलावा IRB की 3 कंपनियां. इसमें हर प्रकार से जो नई टेक्नोलॉजी, ड्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी को हम यूज़ करेंगे, जो कि आसमान जिसकी आप बात कर रहे हैं उसके थ्रू हमने कॉम्बिंग भी कराई है. आज भी पूरे रूट को हम कॉम कर रहे हैं उसके थ्रू. मुख्यतः 23 जगह हमने कुल मिलाकर बड़े और छोटे नाके रखे हैं और सख्ती से इन नाकों पर वीडियोग्राफी होएगी और सख्ती से चेकिंग भी होएगी.
And moving now to news from Bangladesh, the latest on the protests over the reservation row. Well, the important development has been that the Supreme Court of Bangladesh has decided to scale back the reservation that was announced for war veterans or the families of the war veterans. And now that 30% reservation has been reduced to over 5%. Well, as the protests continue, the Ministry of External Affairs here in India has said that as many as 4,500 Indian students have returned home. Mohammad Ghazali with the latest.
4,500 Indian students have returned to India. That also includes 500 students of Nepal, 38 of Bhutan, and 1 of Maldives. But as far as the first question is concerned, that certainly Supreme Court has scaled down the quota for those war veterans. It has brought it down to the 5%. But the bigger challenge for Sheikh Hasina government will be how to restore normalcy now, because there is certainly a trust deficit between the anti-quota group and the government forces, and this entire movement, this entire anti-quota protest has suddenly or slowly turned into an anti-Sheikh Hasina movement. So this is something where there is a credibility crisis for the Hasina government in Bengal, in Bangladesh, and for that, to control it and to ensure that despite the Supreme Court's order, now the biggest challenge will be how to bring normalcy or to restore normalcy in the entire country.
And with that, we'll take a short break now, but news continues on the other side.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of coal, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India, one world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
Welcome back. Now, our budget special report. Well, food inflation has become a big concern for middle-class households with kitchen budgets extremely strained. What does the middle class actually expect of the government ahead of the budget? Here's our special report.
3 households, different budgets, one common thing, a dearer kitchen. With hopes of rate cuts now on the chopping block, an abnormally hot June saw vegetable prices rise to a 16-month high. As prices turn red hot, tomatoes are making 2 meals a day bitter for the pocket. What cost 50 rupees a kg just a month ago, the red gold crop, living up to its name, now costs 120 rupees a kg in many cities. Even in upper middle class households of Delhi, many like Neelu are looking for alternatives to fresh tomatoes.
कई लोग तो रेडीमेड प्यूरी यूज कर लेते हैं कि चलो थोड़ी सी बचत हो जाए, लेकिन वो भी हेल्थ के लिए ठीक नहीं है, उसमें भी केमिकल्स होते हैं, उसको प्रिजर्व करने के लिए वो लोग केमिकल्स डालते हैं, और हमें कुछ करना हो तो हम भी प्यूरी बना के रखते हैं।
प्यूरी बना के रखते हैं?
यस, टोमेटो क्योंकि इतने कॉस्टली हो रहे हैं, टोमेटो के रेट इतने बढ़ रहे हैं, तो प्यूरी बना के रखनी पड़ती है।
But it's not just the tomatoes. From onions, potatoes to peas and cauliflower, vegetables staple to a regular Indian diet have become a luxury in middle-class homes. Prices of these vegetables have more than doubled in just a month. While Neelu may be worried about the rising costs of fresh veggies, for a domestic staff Gyanu, cutting back on essential items is the only way to feed her family of 4.
पहले हम मंडी जाते थे, 500 से 700 रुपए में एक हफ्ता की सब्जी लेके आते थे। अब नहीं, अब 1000 से 1200 रुपए लगती है।
It's not just your neighborhood sabzi wala selling pricier veggies. With wholesale inflation at a 2.5-year high of over 3.5% in June, buying vegetables from mandis isn't a pocket-friendly alternative anymore either. 65-year-old Vandana says the mandi vendors still offer a better deal for seasonal vegetables, essential for her diet.
एक तो सामने दिखती है कि क्या चीज़ ला रहे हैं, आई डोंट नो, मैं ऑनलाइन ही मंगाती कि वहाँ पर क्या चीज़ आती है, आई डोंट नो। और वहाँ सामने लोगों से मैं जाती हूँ तो मैं हर सब्जी वाले से कुछ कुछ लेती हूँ। मुझे लगता है कि वो अगर हम ऑनलाइन मंगाएंगे तो बेचारे वो लोग क्या करेंगे, वो गरीब लोग हैं, उनकी कैसे सब्जी बिकेगी या कुछ भी चीज़ होगी।
The soaring prices, however, have not made farmers rich. After toiling on his fields round the year, Jaswant Singh's share in the profits remains meager. He sells 1 kg of bottle gourd that costs 60 to 70 rupees in the wholesale market for less than 20 rupees to the mandi. It's the middlemen who benefit from the inflated prices.
ਮਿਹਨਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ, ਮੰਡੀ 'ਚ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਰੇਟ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜ਼ਿਮੀਂਦਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਬੁਰਾ ਹਾਲ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜ਼ਿਮੀਂਦਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਦਾ 10 ਜਾਂ 20 15 रुपए ले के वो आगे अपना 90-80 रुपए बेचते हैं।
सभी जिम्मेदार हैं जो, उनके अंदर से आवाज़ यही है कि कोई ना कोई तो सरकार का इस प्रति होना चाहिए विचार या कोई मतलब ध्यान होना चाहिए।
Farmers say the government should consider a cap on prices of seasonal vegetables to reduce the high margins that benefit the middlemen. The middlemen or arthiyas blame the vegetable vendors for the high prices.
मानकर उसने 15 रुपये किलो हमारे से चीज़ ली, उसको 16.5 रुपये किलो पड़ गई, आगे वो 20-25 रुपये किलो बेचेगा, पीछे खराब भी निकल जाती है, उसकी अपनी मर्जी है।
The sabzi wala says he is helpless too, blaming it on unfavorable weather patterns.
रुपये तो आड़ती भी कमाएगा जी, उसके ਵਿੱਚ 5-7 रुपये सानू भी 10 रुपये ਅੱਗੇ ਕਮਾਣੇ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ। हाँ जी, ਇੰਨੇ बचत ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ, मतलब ਚੀਜ਼ ਪਿੱਛੇ 10-15 रुपये किलो ਪਿੱਛੇ ਬਚਦੇ ਜੀ।
With food prices spiking to all-time high levels, the basket of nutrition has shrunk to a concerning low in the past 1 year. The only healing touch can come from the government. In the upcoming budget, Modi is first after taking charge for the 3rd time.
In the food basket, there are a couple of items where the government has important role to play. For example, cereals. The government increased the MSP, which raises the food price, but at the same time the government buys that and then provide to 80 crore consumers free of cost. So you try to serve both the constituencies, but the real food inflation is not from cereals that much. It is from pulses, it is from oil seeds and the vegetables.
As vegetables become forbidden fruits for people, the middle class with strained kitchen budgets will be watching the finance minister keenly next week. With Gurpreet Singh Cheena in Punjab and camera person Azam Siddiqui, Vedant for NDTV.
And moving now to the big political headline, well, the BJP has kicked off its Maharashtra campaign with Amit Shah's Pune rally. And he said that the BJP is pro-Maratha quota and Sharad Pawar is against it. In fact, the Congress has now responded to this as well. Take a look at how that political flashpoint played out.
अपने आप को बाला साहब का वारिस कहने वाले उद्धव जी
कसाब को बिरयानी खिलाने वाले लोगों के साथ बैठे हैं। उद्धव जी, याकूब को छोड़ने की गुहार लगाने वाले के साथ आप बैठे हो। जाकिर नाइक को मैसेंजर ऑफ पीस बनाने वालों की गोदी में उद्धव जी आप बैठे हो। पीएफआई को सपोर्ट करने वालों की गोदी में उद्धव ठाकरे आप बैठे हो, और संभाजी नगर का विरोध करने वाले की गोदी में उद्धव ठाकरे आप बैठे हो। आपको शर्म आनी चाहिए। जब जब महाराष्ट्र में भाजपा सरकार आती है, मराठा रिजर्वेशन प्राप्त होता है, और जब जब शरद पवार की सरकार आती है, मराठा रिजर्वेशन गायब हो जाता है। मैं सोच समझ कर ये वाक्य बोल रहा हूं। 2014 में महाराष्ट्र में मराठा रिजर्वेशन आया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक ठीक गया। किसकी सरकार थी 14 में, बताइए जरा। अरे जोर से बोलो, किसकी सरकार थी? मराठा रिजर्वेशन कंटिन्यू रखना है तो किसकी सरकार लानी चाहिए? अरे जोर से बोलो, किसकी लानी चाहिए?
ये सुन के मुझे हंसी भी आई, क्योंकि जिस सरकार में श्री अमित शाह जी हैं, उसी सरकार ने, वो जब मोदी सरकार थी, अभी तो यूपीए एनडीए सरकार है, पहले जब मोदी सरकार थी, उसी मोदी सरकार ने शरद पवार जी को पद्म विभूषण से सम्मानित किया था। तो एक बार तय कर ले बीजेपी कि शरद पवार है क्या। और वो 12 के 12 डर्टी डजन जिनके पे भ्रष्टाचार के आरोप भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने किए थे, वो सारे आज महाराष्ट्र में मंत्री है।
All right, big breaking news coming in. US President Joe Biden has withdrawn from the US presidential race. Turning point in the US 2024 elections. Of course, there were lots of calls from Democrats for Joe Biden to withdraw, but he remained obstinate, though he had said, or he had hinted perhaps, that if his health condition worsens, then he may withdraw from the race. But extremely significant there that now we can confirm that Joe Biden has withdrawn from the US presidential race. He was also tested positive for COVID just a couple of days back, and there were constant medical updates on his health also. His doctor had in fact said that his health condition is improving, but extremely significant there, a turning point, as I said, in the US presidential race, with Joe Biden withdrawing from the race. And of course, there was a lot of buzz around it going to be a direct fight yet again between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Donald Trump, of course, was officially announced as the Republican candidate, but Joe Biden has withdrawn from the presidential race. This amid mounting pressure from within the Democrats. In fact, top Democrats had called for Joe Biden's withdrawal. In fact, former US President Barack Obama had also joined the chorus in calling for US President Joe Biden to withdraw from the presidential race. And he says this is in the best interest of the Democrats and the best interest of the party that I've decided to stand down. In fact, as I said, he had earlier as well hinted or implied that he may withdraw or stand down if his health condition worsens. But extremely significant there, in just a matter of 1 week, there have been two unprecedented developments in the race for the White House, with the assassination attempt at Donald Trump and now Joe Biden withdrawing from the US presidential race. My colleague Vishal Vivek now joins us live on the phone line. Vishal, this is a big breaking story there, with Joe Biden finally withdrawing from the race. There were all these calls from Democrats for him to withdraw. But what are going to be the implications of this?
So we had been reporting this for a while, that Kamala Harris could be the next one in the, in the run-up to the elections. She could be the next big name, which could be considered. She was high on the polls because the next biggest candidate, as I mentioned, is her. But we have to know the fact that even she's not that popular. Biden was himself not very popular, and Kamala Harris also is not very popular. So what is the next plan of the Democratic Party? That will be the biggest thing, because other than Kamala Harris, there's not really a big name on the world stage that the people recognize. Other than that, there is California Governor Gavin Newsom, who is young and quite popular. but he doesn't really have that pull. And on the other hand, Kamala Harris is not very popular. So this had been in the making for a while. More than 24 top Democrats had asked Biden directly or indirectly to step down, and this has culminated and this has resulted in the eventual withdrawal of Joe Biden. He's 81 years old. He was the oldest contestant to be in the running. He had some health issues, experts were saying, but he himself had said that few days ago, as you mentioned earlier, that if the doctor mentioned something, then he could withdraw. He had hinted that, and there were reports also hinting that it could happen this weekend itself, and it has happened. So now it's the big question is who will be up against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is racing ahead in this the big elections. He in the wake of the assassination bid, he has been gaining ground. The Republican National Convention, he gave a huge 90-minute speech that could also take him further in the race. Now there is nobody in front of him. Now that Biden has pulled out, who will be the next one to stand against Trump? That is the biggest question in the world right now, I think.
That's right, Vishal. So this will have wide-ranging implications, but what could be the possible reasons for him to stand down? Of course, the obvious one being, as you rightly pointed out, top Democrats have called for this, and also his worsening health. He says it's in the best interest of the party that he has decided to stand down. But this certainly is in a sense a big development in the race for the White House, given the fact that there was a lot of buzz around another direct contest between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And the reason is very simple. The top Democrats, including, Obama and Nancy Pelosi, they had all met Joe Biden and, some way or the other expressed to him that now it's the time to step aside. Some of them were not very direct with him in saying that, but there were indications from all the top echelons of the party that Joe Biden should step aside and give someone else, someone probably younger than him, to move ahead in the race. So that is exactly what has happened. Even before all this happened, this whole saga had started when the disastrous debate between Trump and Joe Biden happened. It was disastrous, particularly for Biden, because he fumbled through the speech and he was caught mumbling. He was, off the track so many times. So it had escalated to the next level after that debate. Even before that debate, there were calls for him to step aside.
Yes.
Those calls were not very, very loud, but even soon after the debate, it, went to the next level.
All right, Vishal, stay on with us because this is truly a turning point in the US presidential race. Joe Biden withdrawing from the race. This remains our top focus on NDTV. We'll take a quick break now.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV.
A turning point in the US presidential race. Joe Biden withdraws from US presidential race. He says, I stand down in the best interest of the party. He quits the 2024 presidential race amid party pressure. The government and the opposition race for a stormy monsoon session. The government calls for an all-party meeting ahead of the budget session. This is a Congress brings up the deputy speaker issue in the key meet. The opposition said to raise NEET and Manipur issues in parliament. Rain forces flight cancellations in Mumbai. Air India says there are flight diversions and cancellations due to rain. Airlines ask flyers to reach airport ahead of time. Security ramped up in Haryana's Nu ahead of the controversial Yatra. Internet services suspended in Haryana's Nu ahead of the Yatra. Police are on high alert amid security concerns. The Haryana Chief Minister says, I appeal to people for a peaceful Yatra. A 14-year-old dies in Kerala's Kozhikode after being tested positive for the Nipah virus. The centre issues an advisory after the teen's death. An outbreak response team has now been rushed to Kerala. The Bangladesh Supreme Court scraps the job reservation after unrest. The court overturns 30% reservation of the families of war veterans. 93% jobs now open for candidates on merit. Over 110 people killed in Bangladesh amid protests. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Vedanta Karwala. Turning point in the US presidential race. Joe Biden has withdrawn from the race to the White House. This amid mounting pressure from top Democrats. Also his worsening health as well. He was tested positive for COVID just a week back. In fact, a couple of days back, if I'm not wrong. And now Joe Biden has pulled out of the race. He says it's in the best interest of the party that I stand down. And of course, top Democrats had called for this. In fact, former US President Barack Obama had also recently joined the chorus demanding Joe Biden to, in a sense, withdraw from the race. And there's not going to be a direct contest between Donald Trump and Joe Biden after Joe Biden has now withdrawn from the race. So two absolutely unprecedented developments in the US presidential race. First, of course, the assassination attempt at Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden deciding to pull out of the race. My colleague Vishal Vivek now joins us live. Vishal, so what are going to be the implications of this? And take us through, why perhaps he quit or, pulled out of the race, because top Democrats had demanded the withdrawal, Joe Biden to withdraw from the race.
That is right, Vedant. So top Democrats, including Obama, Pelosi, Peter Welch, and Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff was particularly, he was a close ally of Biden. Even he last week had, cornered Biden and said that, it's time to step aside. And that's what he has done. So I would read out what Joe Biden has exactly tweeted, posted on the X website. He has said that it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. So he will continue as the president till November is when the election will be held. So he's not stepping down as the president, but he has stepped away from the race to the new, to the new term, to the new elections, which will be held in November. It was already, the run-up to the elections was not as exciting as people had expected because, Trump was going ahead of Biden, and Biden had been, mumbling and fumbling his way through all the speeches and all the debates. So the race was already quite tilted in Trump's favor, even though the polls were still suggesting that it's a sort of a neck-and-neck race, other than the battleground states where Trump seems to be leading in about 7 states. So now all of that is in the past now. Joe Biden is out of the race. So the question is, who next? So a lot of the experts have said that Kamala Harris would be the next one in the line who will be considered. But as we've been discussing that even Kamala Harris is not very popular in the US. We have to mention that she is of Indian origin. So there will be a lot of interest if she is given a go-ahead to stand up against Trump. So that is also another angle. So who will be the next one? Whether it's Kamala Harris, whether it's Gavin Newsom of California. These are some of the names that could be considered. But as of now, it's just Trump in the race to the White House.
That's right, and as you also mentioned, Vishal, it was that debate fiasco, that debacle that likely defined Joe Biden's future, and then of course things just went out of control. He also tested positive for COVID, and top Democrats called for Joe Biden to quit the race. But the focus, as you rightly pointed out, is now going to be on who could be the next Democrat candidate for the presidential race. Take us through that, and also what are going to be the implications as far as the Republicans are concerned, because there are all these reports also of how Trump already has a plan in place to attack Kamala Harris if she is indeed chosen as the official candidate.
That is correct. So as we've been discussing, Kamala Harris is the #1 candidate now to be, in the line in the race to the White House for the Democratic Party. She will be up against a mountain of a force now, because Trump, in the wake of the assassination bid, he has sort of gained a lot of ground. A lot of experts have said that that assassination bid would help him now, because the speech that he gave at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, that was sort of a, he catered to all the needs. He also gave his, typical Trump kind of a speech where he made a lot of false claims as well, very tall claims as well. But at the same side, he was also very grounded in his speech, especially in the first half of his RNC speech. He was quite grounded. So he is pulling a lot of weight now. He is catering to almost everyone. He spoke in detail about foreign policy, spoke about migration. So he covered almost everything in his 90-minute speech. On the other hand, Biden was stuck in his house because he was diagnosed with COVID. He could not campaign. So the race was already tilting in favor of Donald Trump and Biden. It was just a matter of time that when would Biden pull out. And that is what exactly has happened. So, yeah, we'll have to see who will be given a chance to stand up against Trump.
Right, Vishal, and as you rightly pointed out, it was just a matter of time for Biden to actually withdraw to that race. But, the focus in India very much on the camaraderie between Prime Minister Modi and President Biden as well, though, it could be a little premature to ask that question. But what could be the possible implications of perhaps Trump's re-election or the election of any other Democrat to the White House?
So Trump has always been sort of positive when he's spoken about India. When he came to India the last time, there was big welcome, for him when he was the president. He came to Gujarat. The whole stadium was filled to welcome him. And he was really fond of that kind of welcome. So he has only spoken about India in a positive manner. It remains to be seen. In his foreign policy speech at the RNC, he did not particularly talk about India, but in the past, he has been vocal about India. He has, expressed interest in India because he has a lot of business dealings also in India. So that will also be an interesting angle as to if he becomes the US president, what will happen to his business dealings in India? Would that be a conflict of interest? How will the governments of both the countries take a look at this? So there are several angles to look at this right now.
That's right, and interesting also, Vishal, that the House Speaker made an important point. He said if Biden quits, Republicans could bring legal challenges in many states. This, of course, is now the Democrats would be looking for a replacement candidate. But what does this really imply?
Sorry, could you repeat that, Veda?
Now, the House Speaker made an interesting statement today. He, in fact, said that if Joe Biden indeed pulls out of the race, then the Republicans could file various legal challenges. What does that really mean?
That doesn't, I would have to check on that, what exactly it means, because in the race up to the White House, a lot of statements would be released from both the parties.
Yes.
Right now, the biggest story is that Biden has pulled out, and what could be the implication of that? which candidate is the first choice, because there's not much time left now. There's just 1 month, about a month to go before the Democratic National Convention, the DNC. What happens at the DNC, that remains to be seen. Now RNC was quite successful for the Republican Party. The onus is now the Democratic Party to line up someone big for the DNC so that it can, stomp the ground and say that it can, take up the Republican Party. So far, it seems to be a real struggle for the Democratic Party. Now that Biden has pulled out, there is not even one big picture that it can, show and, show to Trump that who will be standing against him.
Absolutely, Vishal, and as you said, that is really the story right now. But as somebody who tracks the politics of the US very closely, where do you see the campaign going from here on? Because, of course, as you also mentioned in your reportage, that this has only strengthened the case for Donald Trump, who has already sort of garnered a lot of sympathy, perhaps, and a lot of attention after that assassination attempt. But where do you see the campaign from here on?
So most likely Trump would take to his social media website called Truth Social and probably give a big statement there, because he always, he doesn't waste any time in attacking the Democratic Party, especially Biden. He uses a lot of, these methods, especially at the RNC, where he said that he won't even take the name of Biden, although he took the name of Biden 2-3 times. But throughout the speech, he referred to him as the person. So he has these, methods to, draw in attention, and especially that image of him raising his fist with the American flag in the background, with blood running down his face, and him screaming, "Fight on, fight on." Those are some really iconic pictures that will stay in American political history for probably hundreds of years. So he has already pulled off a big win in terms of the US elections. And probably that is why people in the US like him so much and support him so much. The reason that he is so unabashed in his approach, he doesn't mince his words. So right now it looks to be a really, one-sided race.
Absolutely, and as you said, a defiant Trump there, but also looking at what really transpired as far as Joe Biden is concerned in the past couple of weeks, in the past month. Perhaps it was that disastrous debate performance that had likely defined Joe Biden's political future, and after that, his uneven public appearances and some sort of concerns among the voters as well that he's simply too old to serve in office for too long.
That is true. So a lot of videos of him had gotten viral in the last 1 or 2 months. Some videos showed him, walking around sort of clueless, even though the Democratic Party has come back. They came back and said that those videos were doctored and, doctored in the sense to portray a picture that he's not well, but that's not the case. He's doing well. That's what the Democratic Party had been saying. But there are a lot of videos of him doing those gaffes and, generally appearing clueless. So how much can you cover? I mean, there were way too many mistakes, way too many gaps. He referred to Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump in his speech. He referred to Volodymyr Zelensky as President Putin in his speech. So there were way too many big gaps right when the calls were starting to happen. So these concerns were always going to, amount to this. Right. This is a culmination of all those mistakes, and this was bound to happen.
So many faux pas there for President Biden there in the past 1 month. But as Vishal is reporting, it was just a matter of time. But nevertheless, a huge turning point in the race for the White House. This remains our top focus on NDTV. For now, we'll take a quick break.
MSMEs are the backbone for the country's economy. They account for 45% of exports.
Frequent changes in GST tariffs and norms has proven to become a very tough issue for the small micro units.
The budget should be in a growth-oriented budget. So we should bring more manufacturers into the fold of GST.
Particularly for micro and small-scale industries, kindly give us a export benefit incentive to us.
But for a micro or small-scale industry to go up, there should be a hand-holding mechanism which is definitely required.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
वो performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Welcome back. Our big focus on NDTV at this hour. Joe Biden has pulled out of the US presidential race, a turning point in the race for the White House. As many would say, this is just a matter of time. After the debate fiasco last month, his uneven appearances, public appearances, and also growing outrage within the Democrats as well. Top Democrats had called for this, and now Joe Biden finally pulling out of the presidential race. Vishal Vivek continues to be with us. He tracks foreign policy and the US politics very, very closely. Vishal, so as we were discussing earlier as well, this has in a sense strengthened Trump's campaign as well ahead of that crucial November election. But what about the Democrats? While of course they look for a replacement candidate, there was in a sense a lot of concerns around Joe Biden as well. As we were discussing earlier, many thought that he was just too old after those series of faux pas and his fumbling and mumbling. So in a sense, could it even marginally strengthen the campaign for the Democrats as well?
Yeah, that is also another interesting angle that you're talking about. Biden was quite unpopular. A lot of young voters, especially, which had voted for the Democratic Party last time, they were turning away from the party this time because of Joe Biden, because they thought that he's too old and he's not competent enough to even understand the language sometimes. So that's the notion that was going around on social media in the US particularly. So the young voters were stepping away from the Democratic Party, mostly because of Joe Biden, and also in the battleground states, which are the key states in the US as far as the US elections are concerned. Even in those states, he was quite down from the top-notch candidate that is Trump. So all these factors, combined to make him, not really a great candidate. So now that the ball will be in Kamala Harris's court, most likely because
Speak. I
Joe
can
Biden.
see this tweet as well. He has posted on his social media platform X. He says, addressing Democrats, he says, my fellow Democrats have decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of the term. My very first decision as a party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala Harris to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. So, of course, Vishal, that is, a big statement there coming from Joe Biden. He has posted that picture as well with Kamala Harris, endorsing Kamala Harris as his successor. So that's an important development too.
Of course. So now he's passing the baton to Kamala Harris, who is the vice president right now. And this will be particularly interesting for Indian viewers because she's of Indian origin. And also the fact that she's already a vice president. She is a popular leader, but she seems to be not that popular. It will be sort of a pickle for the Democratic Party to choose someone else right now because the next big candidate is just Kamala Harris. There's no other candidate who is, who has this countrywide appeal. So this is sort of a pickle for the Democratic Party, and it will be tough for the Democratic Party to, pit Kamala Harris against Trump, because Trump, as we've been reporting, that he's already leading in the race, and now that Biden is out of the race, to bring in someone new who doesn't have that kind of an experience, it will be quite tough because Trump is an ex-US president. He has the experience of the White House. He has the experience of, mobilizing millions of people, thousands of people. And in the wake of the assassination bid, in the wake of the RNC, epic RNC speech that he gave, he already has, this pull on the crowd of the US. So it will be quite difficult for Kamala Harris to, go against Trump.
That's right, Vishal. And as you said, it would be of particular interest for Indian viewers as well, given the fact that Kamala Harris could perhaps be the official candidate of the Democrats. But how do you see this playing out? Will she be able to garner support of the Democrats? Because as you were also reporting earlier, she's not particularly popular herself. And will she be able to take on somebody like Trump? How do you see that playing out?
So Indian American politicians have been rising up in the party, particularly in the Democratic Party. Also in the Republican Party, there are quite a few Indian American leaders who are coming up, such as Vivek Ramaswamy, who was also himself presidential candidate in the running. He was not nominated, but he was one of the names that, gained a lot of traction because of his social media pull. So there are a lot of Indian American names in the whole of US, particularly in politics. So it will be interesting to see if all of these people can rally together and this will have to be sort of a really new kind of a campaign, because this will be the first time, if Kamala Harris goes on to become the official candidate, this will be the first time an Indian origin presidential candidate will be there. So it will be a huge moment for Indian Americans and Indians also. So all of that will have to be seen, because the polls on Kamala Harris will be released in a few days. What are the expectations? What are the voters feeling about her as the presidential candidate? There are various polls in the US, AP and NORC poll, Reuters Ipsos poll. So what these polls say, that will also determine this race to the White House, which is already almost towards the finish line.
Absolutely. These are the last stages of the campaign. But, you talked about, the sort of campaign playing out between the Republicans and Kamala Harris, if she indeed is chosen as the official candidate of the Democrats. But what about the sentiment within the party? Do you see top Democrats actually backing her as the official candidate?
within the party, she has the weight. She pulls a lot of weight. She has a lot of support. Of course, she is the vice president. So of course, she does enjoy support of a lot of party members. But there are other young leaders that are also, in the running, such as I've been mentioning, Gavin Newsom of California is the governor there. He is looked at as, someone who is the future US president. So will the party go for Gavin Newsom now? The fact that Kamala Harris is not that popular in the US, that is also another question. Will the party go for a third candidate? All of that will have to be discussed in the next, probably 2-3 weeks, because on August 19th, the Democratic National Convention starts. And by the end of the week, they'll have to choose the candidate. And there was also another report saying that they will have to choose, they'll probably plan to choose a candidate during the first week of August. So there's only a couple of weeks time to, decide, to zero in on a candidate. So it's a really small amount of time to, decide such a monumentous thing. So it's an uphill task for Democratic Party right now, while the Republican Party enjoys the success of the RNC.
Absolutely, and it's interesting that it's going to be interesting few days ahead in American politics. But it was also very interesting how New York Times reported that the Republicans are already preparing an attack plan as if Kamala Harris is indeed chosen as the official candidate of the Democrats. So the Republicans already seem to have an edge in that sense as far as the campaign is concerned.
That is true. So even Trump had been talking about Kamala Harris. Even as far as I can recall, even during the Republican National Convention speech, he mentioned Kamala Harris's name and said that she could be hinted that she could be a way better candidate than Biden. So he already had in mind that Kamala Harris could be, in the running, could be against him. So there will obviously be plans. Republican Party, it's a grand old party of the US. It's the foundation party of the US. So they will have a lot of plans. And Trump being at the helm of affairs, being a businessman, a successful one. So there will be a lot of plans to counter Kamala Harris for sure.
All right, Vishal, thanks very much for being with us and for all that perspective. An absolute turning point there in the US presidential race, and now Joe Biden backing Kamala Harris as the official nominee of the Democrats. This remains our top focus on NDTV. For now, we'll slip to a short break.
To India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride.
A turning point in the US presidential race. Joe Biden withdraws from the US presidential race. He says it's in the best interest of the party that I stand down. Biden quits the 2024 president race amid mounting pressure from the party. But interestingly, Biden endorses Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. The government and the opposition back home brace for a stormy monsoon session. The government called for an all-party meeting ahead of the budget session. The Congress brings up the Deputy Speaker issue in the key meet. The opposition set to raise need and Manipur in Parliament. Rain forces flight cancellations in Mumbai. Air India says flight diversions and cancellations due to rain. This is airlines ask flyers to reach airport ahead of time. In Haryana's new security ramped up ahead of the controversial Yatra. Internet services also suspended. The police on high alert amid security concerns. The Haryana Chief Minister says, I appeal to people for peaceful Yatra. A 14-year-old has died in Kerala's Kozhikode after being tested positive for the Nipah virus. The centre has issued an advisory after the teen's death. An outbreak response team has also been sent to Kerala. The Bangladesh top court scraps a job quota after unrest. The court overturns 30% reservation for the families of war veterans. 93% jobs now open for candidates on merit. Over 110 people killed in Bangladesh amid those protests. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Vedant Agarwal. The big story right now on NDTV. Joe Biden has withdrawn from the US presidential race, a turning point in the race for the White House. He took to social media platform X to say that it's in the best interest of the party that I've decided to stand down. And he's also endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the official nominee of the Democrats. And this was, as many would say, a matter of time because there was mounting pressure from within his party, from top Democrats who called for Joe Biden to withdraw from the US presidential race. This will have wide-ranging ramifications as far as the US presidential race is concerned. So two unprecedented developments as far as the race is concerned. First, of course, the assassination attempt at Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden withdrawing from the US presidential race. There's his tweet. He says, my fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on the remainder of the term as president. He says it was my best decision to appoint Kamala Harris or choose Kamala Harris as a vice president. And he's, in a sense, passed on the baton to Kamala Harris to be his successor. My colleague Gauri Dwivedi is now joining us live on the phone line. So Gauri, many would say this was just a matter of time, but this will have wide-ranging implications for the Democrats who in no time will now have to decide who the next official candidate would be. But how do you see this panning out with Joe Biden now backing Kamala Harris as a nominee of the Democrats?
Vedant, it's 100 days left for the U.S. elections to now take place. And in the midst of that, there is now growing uncertainty as far as the Democrat camp is concerned. Two important aspects to this. One is that ever since the debate performance, Joe Biden was under tremendous pressure from the Democrat Party itself to withdraw because they felt there's no way that he could recover from then. Add to it, the assassination attempt on former President Trump just added on to his ratings. And to further than that, apart from the rating gap between the two candidates, was the fact that the funding had suddenly just dried up for the Democrats. All big donors said that they will not back Joe Biden's candidature for the presidential elections, and which is why the Democrat Party really had its back to the wall with no donors coming in. All big donors, in fact, 165 big donors had said that they will not back Joe Biden for the presidential elections, and which is why time was essentially running out for Joe Biden, and he made this announcement that he did. Of course, he's now fully endorsed Kamala Harris for the presidential candidate. Her presidential candidature remains to be seen whether the Democrat Party will support her. Joe Biden has endorsed her, but remains to be seen whether the Democrat convention also pushes her name or not. But at this stage, it is looking like it could be Kamala Harris taking on Donald Trump. And remains to be seen what are the odds, but at this stage, we have every reason, as an Indian, of course, given that, she is, of course, a PIO, that we have reason to be happy that this is Kamala Harris who would be, in all probability, taking on Donald Trump in the upcoming U.S. elections in November.
Very much for joining us with the latest there. As Gauri is pointing out, a lot of interest around Kamala Harris back home in India as well, given the fact that she's a person of Indian origin. We are also getting a Trump reaction. We'll try and play that for you in just a short while. Vishal Vivek is now joining us. I'm being told that the Trump reaction has now come in. He's taken to his social media platform, Truth Social. He says, crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve, and he never was. He only attained the position of president by lies, fake news, and not having his basement. Well, he says all those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew that he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't. And now look what he's done to our country, with millions of people coming across our border totally unchecked and unvetted, many from prisons, mental institutions, and record numbers of terrorists. We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly. All right, Vishal, so a very Trump-like response there. He says that crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president. He never was. And that he will remedy the damage, something that he said in that speech after his assassination attempt as well.
That is correct. So he has been referring to Joe Biden as crooked Joe Biden for a while. Even when he was the president of the US, he had mentioned him as crooked Joe Biden sometimes. So as we had been discussing just a few moments ago that soon a Trump statement will come, he has taken to Truth Social, which is his own social media, and expressed these strong statements where he referred to Joe Biden as crooked and said that, the country is in danger because of illegal migrants. He has been talking about illegal migrants, illegal aliens for a while. That's one of the strong points. He mentioned the topic in detail when he was giving the speech at the RNC, which is the Republican National Convention. He spoke at length for about 90 minutes. And out of those 90 minutes, he spoke at least about 20 minutes on the illegal immigration part. So he will go all guns blazing now that he knows a strong contender. Even though Joe Biden was old, Joe Biden had been having problems, he still was neck and neck with Trump. In a lot of states across US, a lot of opinion polls had said that it was still a neck and neck race. He was above a few points in few battleground states, but on the whole, even after the assassination bid, even after multiple gaffes, even after that disastrous debate against Trump, it was still a very close race. So now that a strong contender is out of the picture, who will be the next one? Will the Democratic Party go for Kamala Harris, a lot of experts and opinion polls had said that she will be the next candidate in the running if Biden steps out. Now that has happened. Will the Democratic Party choose Kamala Harris over, other experienced campaigners or, other, people who could be more, who could have more potential to be the next US president? So that remains to be seen. It will be interesting, as we've been discussing, for Indian viewers, because Kamala Harris is, of course, of Indian origin. If she goes on to be nominated, it will be huge for Indian Americans.
That's right, Vishal, and we have to discuss Kamala Harris in detail, but just recap for us what transpired for Joe Biden in the past month and what are we going to see in the next couple of days, because the Democrats will have to decide as quickly as possible what their plan of action is, given the fact that it's just 4 months to the crucial elections. How do you see the Democrats now working around this? Is there a strategy in place already? What is your assessment right now?
So the disaster started on June 27th when the debate against Trump happened. It was the first presidential debate of the year, first presidential debate of the new elections that's supposed to happen in November. So on June 27th, it was a big disaster for Joe Biden because he had multiple gaffes. He mumbled through his speech, through his counter arguments. He went off track a few times. He was caught mumbling. And soon after that, it was sort of an inflection point. June 27th was an inflection point in Biden's political career in the latest elections, to be precise, because before that there were calls. Of course, there were calls for him to step aside, but they were not as loud. But soon after June 27th, those calls became really loud, and even from the top echelons of the party, from Nancy Pelosi to now Barack Obama to Peter Welch, Adam Schiff, and at least 20 other top Democrat leaders, they met Biden privately and otherwise and expressed their concern. Even top fundraiser of the party, who is George Clooney, a top Hollywood actor, even he wrote a long piece for the New York Times in which he said that even though he admires Joe Biden, it's time for him to step aside and hand over the baton to someone who is more eligible, who is younger and who's capable of doing the job. So he faced troubles from within his party. So it was a two-edged sword for him. Even Republicans were attacking him, and from inside the party, he was facing trouble. So this was all about time. And there were reports that he was going to, step away this week, and that is exactly what has happened.
Vishal, stay on with us. Catherine Gibson is joining us as well. She's a congressional correspondent of Voice of America. Thanks very much, Catherine, for being with us. It's truly a turning point in the US presidential race. Many would say that it was just a matter of time for Biden to pull out of the race. But how do you see the campaign taking shape from now on?
Well, Kamala Harris, the vice president, has a great deal of support from Capitol Hill Democrats. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have been working quietly behind the scenes, showing their polling data to President Biden and saying, look, our data shows that you just cannot win. You have to step aside for the vice president. So this is the scenario that they were asking for. And now really what the Democratic Party has to do is unite behind Kamala Harris with just a short time left until the election, only about 100 some odd days left until Americans go to the polls. Democrats really need to run a tight, focused ship to make sure she can beat President Trump.
Catherine, you're joining us from Washington. What are some of the reactions coming in? We've, of course, seen Trump's reaction there on Truth Social. In a very Trump-like response, he said crooked Joe Biden was never fit to serve as president. But how have some of the Democrats reacted to this? Because while, of course, many of the top Democrats, including former President Barack Obama, joined the chorus in asking Joe Biden to withdraw from the race. But how do you see Democrats reacting to this? Because, as you said, the only solution, the viable solution that they have is to unite behind Kamala Harris, with President Biden himself endorsing her.
That's right. And so I've been watching some of the early reaction pouring in here in Washington, D.C. We heard from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who praised Joe Biden's decision as patriotic. I'm seeing other House Democrats saying that Joe Biden had a fantastic one-term presidency where he accomplished a great deal for the American people. They are absolutely praising this decision as the right step. Now, what's more interesting is over on the Republican side. I just saw the statement from Speaker Mike Johnson as I was getting on with you. Speaker Mike Johnson says that this decision invalidates the will of American voters who selected Joe Biden to be the Democratic presidential nominee. Other House Republicans are saying that if Joe Biden can't run for re-election, then he is unfit to serve as president for the next 6 months. I expect to see a lot of debate over the legality, the validity of this decision. This is far from over in terms of reaction on Capitol Hill.
That's right. In fact, the latest post said, Catherine, is that this is an unprecedented juncture in American history, is what Mike Johnson says. We must be clear about what just happened. The Democrat Party forced the Democrat nominee off the ballot just over 100 days before the election. So, very interesting choice of words there by Mike Johnson.
Right, absolutely. As I mentioned, he is absolutely going to pursue this line of questioning, saying that it invalidates the will of the American voters. He has already been joined by other House Republicans who are saying very similar things. I don't think we're going to hear the end of this. We're going to see election challenges because Republicans are going to argue that this is an invalid decision. But I want to step back and remind viewers that we have not yet held a convention. Joe Biden was not yet officially appointed the nominee of his party.
That's right.
That is the purpose of a convention. So this was a clear part of the election process where Joe Biden could step away before he'd officially become his party's nominee in mid-August.
Catherine, before I let you go, how do you see this, in a sense, strengthening the case for Donald Trump and strengthening the Republican campaign? Because as we've been discussing, the assassination attempt had already sort of given him that sort of media mileage and, of course, a lot of sympathy from across the world and not just in the US. But how do you see this impacting the campaign for the Republicans and indeed for the Democrats as well? Because there was a lot of sort of pressure on him to quit, to withdraw, and many people just thought that Joe Biden is too old to, in a sense, run for office again. But how do you see that, in a sense, strengthening the Republican campaign as well, given the fact that Joe Biden himself was growing increasingly unpopular?
Well, I think it's important to remember that Donald Trump wanted to run against Joe Biden because of that age issue. He felt like that was a really strong talking point for his campaign. He wanted to run against Joe Biden. Now the race is completely reset. He is going to be running against a younger woman of color, which gives a very different look for the presidential race. It is no longer two men in their late 70s and 80s. It is now a very different race.
All right, Catherine Gibson joining us from Washington there. Thanks very much for being with us. Truly a historic moment there, a turning point in the US presidential race. Saurabh Shukla, editor-in-chief of News Mobile, is also with us, somebody who tracks the politics of the US very, very closely. Saurabh, how do you see this? As we've been discussing with our other colleagues and reporters as well, that if Kamala Harris is indeed chosen as the official candidate of the Democratic Party, then it's going to be a moment in history for Indian Americans.
Absolutely. And in fact, let me say it that and tell your viewers and remind them, I said it on your show a couple of days back as well, that President Biden is going to withdraw, and he has done that formally today. Because, a lot of people in the Democratic Party felt that's the right decision. And I completely agree that Donald Trump will now face a much younger, formidable opponent. Yes, it's too late in the race, though. It's only 100 days to go. Republicans have notched up all the resources. He's already getting, financial resources with a lot of Silicon Valley billionaires putting their weight behind him. But as they say, politics is the art of impossible. Kamala Harris, once she gets formally endorsed by the Democratic Convention, don't forget that that's something which has to be done in August. So it remains to be seen if she can really match up to Donald Trump, but certainly it's going to be a race which has been reset. And if she becomes the president, obviously it will be a big boost to Indian Americans here in the U.S. and obviously means a lot because she will become the first woman president for the United States. And a lot of issues like reproductive rights, that is where she will certainly have an edge over Donald Trump and the Republican Party, who's taken a different view on this issue.
Absolutely. So all of that will be something to watch out for if Kamala Harris is indeed endorsed as the official candidate of the Democratic Party. But as Saurabh Shukla there said, that the race has indeed been reset. This remains our top focus on NDTV. For now, we'll step into a short break.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world.
Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
MSMEs are the backbone for the country's economy. They account for 45% of exports.
Frequent changes in GST tariffs and norms has proven to become a very tough issue for the small micro units.
The budget should be in a growth-oriented budget. So we should bring more manufacturers into the fold of GST.
Particularly for micro and small-scale industries, kindly give us a export benefit incentive to us.
But for a micro or small scale industry to go up, there should be a hand-holding mechanism which is definitely required.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
वो परफॉर्मेंस सही सारा नहीं थे बढ़िया रिजल्ट्स मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app.
Welcome back. The big story we are tracking on NDTV. Joe Biden has pulled out of the US presidential race, a turning point in the race for the White House. The race has been reset with Joe Biden withdrawing from the race, and he's endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as his potential successor. Reactions also coming in. Donald Trump has said that that crooked Joe Biden was never fit to run for president. So all those reactions coming in. Vishal Vivek continues to be with us. So Vishal, extremely interesting there. Just 100 days to go, and now Joe Biden withdrawing from the race. Many would say it was just a matter of time, but it has set in motion a chain of political events, with the speaker also now saying that he should quit, and this in a sense has invalidated the public will.
That is correct. So there are two types of comments that are coming in. First one is that you mentioned just a few moments ago that Speaker Mike Johnson has said that he should, now that he has decided that he's not fit to run for president, why should he continue to be the president? Even if that's for a few months, he should quit even that post and give someone else a chance.
Vishal, I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you there. Sally Patterson is joining us live from Washington, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Sally, go ahead and tell us the reactions coming in, because this is truly an unprecedented development. Well, not unprecedented, as many would say, a matter of time, because there was mounting pressure on Joe Biden to withdraw from the race. But Donald Trump has also reacted to it. How do you see the campaign now taking shape with just 100 days to go for the crucial elections?
Well, after so much back and forth, will he, won't he, President Joe Biden has officially announced that he will not be rerunning for the White House in November. Apparently, according to his campaign, as recently as Saturday night, which is less than 24 hours ago here in the US, he was still insisting that he was going to be leading the Democrats into that election, saying he was the man for the job. But just hours ago, he did a major U-turn and decided instead to put his faith in his Vice President Kamala Harris. There has been speculation about whether his age, his perceived frailness as well, just made him too past the ability to be able to take on that job and really be able to gain that victory in November. And it seems that that speculation has now come into fruition. There has been mounting pressure by those, of course, in the opposition, but also those in his own party. At least 10 congressional Democrats in the last few weeks have really been pushing for him to step aside, give the race instead to someone younger, someone who they see as has more capacity in them to be able to really lead the Democrats to yet another win. Now, we've heard from Biden himself, and he, in his statement put out on social media, said that his very first decision was to make Kamala Harris his vice president way back when he ran in 2020. And he said that was the best decision he's made. And so now he's calling on Democrats to get behind her as well.
Right, Sally Patterson, thanks very much for joining us with the latest there. Also, Vishal Vivek for being with us throughout as we report on this developing story. An absolute turning point, as I've been saying, in the race to the White House. Joe Biden has withdrawn from the race and has endorsed Kamala Harris to be his successor. This is going to have wide-ranging ramifications, and this will remain our top focus on NDTV. But for now, that's all the time that we have on this show. Thanks so much for watching.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day.